Special session to order for March 24th, 2026. Let the record show that Mrs. Hollingsworth is absent. All other board members are present. Open with the pledge of allegiance. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's not the problem. It says the minute is full.
That's supposed to take 9 years.
Tell me when you get it right, Alex.
Let's just give her a second to get that right.
Okay.
Report it up here too.
We will, but depending on how the hearing
Yeah,
goes.
yeah, exactly.
So we just need to wait for 1 second till they.
We will.
Tim, there's a seat up here beside me, see?
Hey, Tim, there's a seat up here beside Missy.
James. I got one. You can have mine. I'll give him Sue, Sue here or something. Sue can cheer up.
Huh?
Mhm. Should be like here.
Mhm.
Once you get here, then you'll stop.
Yeah, yeah. We gotta have. For them.
Hey, should we read ask Mr. Future?
Oh,
Well, I'm not. She was worried.
Miss Julie,
I guess that's what she said.
have we got it?
my husband, like, Dwayne's coming in.
Have we got it?
Technical difficulty. Please pause.
Cast on.
She's got harder on the inside, so they figured. We wait on. She said the, pull that up, it's like. It's pretty okay, though. That's the last week about it.
That will not do. So that would be exactly the same.
Doesn't they take one?
Huh?
Can't take one.
Yeah, but if we have to go into a closed session, we can't use that. Huh?
Can't probably let me down.
We might have to use this record.
Tim, do you have your recorder?
It's up there and I saw.
Tim.
Yeah, yeah. This looking right nights all the time in Florida. People think you're
Mr.
crazy.
Henry, how should we handle this?
Can't have it back after the meeting.
It's working. Okay.
We're getting it.
Did you get it?
Is it recording? Is it recording? It's not recording. Christy, you want to come up here and look at it up here? And if it, just start it,
Start it, lay it down.
just lay it right here.
Yeah.
Just go to that's. No, she says it's. Yeah, she wasn't.
That's such a.
Just sit there and collect the things that happen. Can we use?
We could use Tim's, I'd say, if we have to.
Yeah, I can be in the court with you.
Is that appropriate? If we just use him and he leaves the card with us?
He's with the radio station.
We'll just use his and his recording and he'll leave it with us and then we'll.
He can leave the card.
Yeah, take the little card out, then she can download it and then take out the card, whatever, done in executive session.
Yeah, because we need to move along.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That'll be fine.
Okay. Item number 3 on the agenda is personnel consideration of approval of continued paid administrative leave for an employee pending investigation. Do I have a motion? Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McNabb seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Are you not entitled to the hearing?
Aye.
I thought we came here for a hearing.
You're going to have the hearing. We had to vote to go into a hearing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Does the employee desire an open or closed hearing? Open or closed?
Open.
The record will reflect that the employee has requested an open hearing. We will proceed in an open session. Any person who will testify in these proceedings other than the superintendent, the administrative designee, and the employee must remain outside the hearing room and must not communicate with any other person about the testimony before or after testifying. Witnesses will wait outside and will be called as needed. How many witnesses do we have? Is anybody going to testify?
I have a witness. I have one witness, the superintendent.
Well, because she's a member of the hearing, I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
she has to wait outside.
So there are no other witnesses?
Are there any other witnesses? Mr. Dawes?
I'm gonna have her.
She can be in here.
Okay. Mhm.
Good afternoon. My name is Emery Grimes, and I will serve as your presiding officer for this hearing. The hearing has been requested by the employee regarding the superintendent's decision to place the employee on paid administrative leave pending investigations. Would the parties and their representatives please state their appearance for the record?
I'm Trey Marone with Bowles Rice. I'm here on behalf of the administration.
I'm Michael Dawson. I'm here on behalf of Joanna Burke Kinderman.
I'm Joanna Burke Kinderman.
You got to state yours.
And I'm Brandon Tenney with Education West Virginia.
Okay.
I am Dr. Letha Williams, Superintendent of Schools.
Is there any preliminary matters that need to be addressed before we proceed?
None that I'm aware of, Mr. President.
I'm back.
No.
I'm back.
Hmm.
What's your front name? It's page over. I'm back.
This is an administrative employment hearing. This is not a disciplinary hearing in the merits of any allegations. The purpose of this hearing is limited to determining what the superintendent's decision to place the employee on administrative leave pending investigation was appropriate and lawful. The board does not make findings at this time regarding whether any allegation of conduct occurred. The board will limit the presentation of evidence and argument to this issue. In this matter, the burden of proof, the employee bears the burden of proof. The employee must demonstrate by preponderance of the evidence that the superintendent's decision was arbitrary, conspicuous, contrary to law, and otherwise improper. A preponderance of evidence means that a fact is more likely than true. Scope of evidence. Evidence presented should be limited to the circumstances known to the superintendent at the time the decision was made, whether the placement on administrative leave pending investigation was reasonable. Evidence regarding the ultimate truth of any allegations may be considered only to the extent it relates to whether the superintendent's decision was reasonable at the time it was made. The board is not determining whether any alleged contract occurred. Evidentiary procedure. Each party may present an opening statement, offer evidence and exhibits, examine and cross-examine witnesses, and provide a closing statement. Copies of all exhibits must be provided to the board, the opposing party, and the superintendent. as presiding officer, I will rule on objections. The rule of evidence are not strictly applied. The board may consider relevant evidence, including hearsay, and assign it to the weight deemed appropriate. Durandum, please speak clearly so that the proceedings may be accurately recorded. All answers must be verbal. Please direct all comments to the board. Employee opening statement. Because the employee bears the burden of proof, does the employee wish to make an opening statement? Administrative opening statement. Does the administration wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, Mr. President, we do. This matter before the board today is very narrow. As stated, the issue before the board is not whether any alleged conduct occurred, but it is whether the superintendent acted appropriately in placing the employee on administrative leave pending investigation. The superintendent was presented with concerns and initiated an investigation. Pending that investigation, she exercised her authority to place the employee on administrative leave. The employee, as you said, bears the burden of proof on that this decision was improper. The evidence will not support that claim. Thank you.
Please call your first witness.
Lethal Williams.
Mrs. Williams. Please state your name for the record and raise your right hand.
Dr. Williams.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, I take it you have the letter from February 12, 2026 in front of you.
I do.
In paragraph 2, you state that the investigation will evaluate transcription and accuracy of students' grades for students enrolled at 8th grade level. Is that correct? In Math 1?
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt the question. Go ahead. I want to say something after that.
Can you repeat the question, please?
And I'm just interrupting. Well, the reason I didn't pass out the letters yet. I can go ahead and do that. I plan to do it anyway. Would you prefer me to go ahead and do
Do you think you have it in front of her? or not?
He has one. I don't know if you want everybody else to have one yet.
I'm fine.
Okay.
You want to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
In the second paragraph, it says that your investigation will evaluate transcription and accuracy of student grades for those students enrolled as 8th graders in Math 1. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you tell me what you're actually investigating?
The investigation is ongoing and has not concluded at this time.
But what are you investigating?
It's clearly stated in the letter what I'm investigating in paragraph 2. The purpose of the leave is to allow us to conduct a full and complete investigation into the concerns that we shared with her. The investigation will evaluate transcripts and accuracy of student grades for those students enrolled as 8th graders in Math 1. Additionally, the investigation will examine math field day organization and compliance with procedure.
Let's just deal with the math first. We'll get back to math field day, okay? So specifically, what are you evaluating in regards to the transcription and accuracy of student grades for 8th graders in Math 1?
I'm conducting an investigation as outlined in paragraph 2 of this letter.
Specifically, what are you investigating about these?
I want to lodge an objection. Of course, the question's been asked and answered a 3 times now. But again, the purpose of this hearing is not to investigate the case. It's not to discuss the factual basis for the case. The issue before the board today is whether or not Superintendent Dr. Williams had the authority and properly placed the employee on paid administrative leave pending an investigation. And the reasons she did that are set forth in the letter.
Well, I believe that the president read to us, we're here to determine whether or not her conduct was arbitrary and capricious. Okay. And so I'm asking her what leads her to this, to come up with these concerns. It's to determine whether or not her actions are arbitrary and capricious in putting her on this paid administrative leave. I believe that's what you read. So that's what I'm trying to get to. So just reciting to me what's in the letter is not what I'm asking. So it's not been asked and answered. I'm asking you what specific concerns did you have concerning the transcription and accuracy of students' grades in 8th grade Math 1?
My specific concerns were the accuracy of the grades for students in Math 1 and their transcripts.
Okay. Does Joanna have any control over entering grades in Weavis?
That's what the investigation is aimed at concluding.
What, does she have access to those?
That's under investigation.
Do you know who all the people are that has access to Weavis in your system?
We have a list of people that has access to Weavis in our system.
So is Joanna on that list?
Joanna was on the list at the point in time that I had information for this investigation.
So she had a code, she had access, she could go into Weavis and change grades is what you're saying?
She had access to Weavis, yes.
Okay. And when was that?
It was,
When was that period of time?
she had a period of time of access until I asked for her access to be removed.
When was it? From beginning when and ending when?
It ended after I spoke with Miss Joanna Burke-Kinderman in our initial conference and put her on investigation.
That ended on February 12th, 2026.
Around that time, yes.
Okay. When did she have access before that? You know when it began?
I do not.
Okay. So she had, you're saying at one point in time, she had a code to where she could get on Weavis and enter grades, change grades, whatever. Is that correct?
I'm saying at one point in time, she had a password to get onto Weavis. It's not a code, it's a password.
That's what I'm asking, password, code, whatever you want to use. She had one. She had access to Weavis.
Okay. She had access to Weavis.
Now, the math field day, on math field day, what were your concerns with math field day?
I received an email regarding Math Field Day that was outside the scope of Miss Joanna Burke-Kinderman's job.
And what did that email say?
Again, I'm going to object. I mean, it's like we're trying to conduct discovery of the case here today. The issue before the board is just whether or not the superintendent acted appropriately in placing the employee on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of an investigation.
I agree. Mr. Dawes, move on.
Do I not get a chance to respond to his objection, or you're just going to cut me off?
We've been through this about 3 times. Go ahead and respond this time.
I mean, how are you supposed to know if she acted arbitrary and capricious if you're not going to get into the underlying facts?
Go
as to
ahead
why
and
she made the
respond to
decision?
his objection. I want
That's
to
what
hear
I'm
what you're going to say.
That's what I'm
And
asking.
then we're going to move on.
The only way that we can find out whether or not she was arbitrary and capricious in making her decision is to find out why she made that decision. You agree or disagree?
Well, the other thing I'm going to object to is he doesn't have any right or business asking board members questions. As you are the presiding officer here, we can make an objection and then you can rule on it, which I understood you did.
Well,
But I'm going to object to him asking board members questions.
my point is that you all gave her this hearing to determine whether or not the superintendent acted arbitrary and capricious. That's what we're here to do. If I can't ask questions as to why she did what she did, then why are we here?
You've asked those questions and she's answered those questions. Why?
No, I'm getting to the math field day, so I'm getting cut off.
Well, she
So
told you she received
what
an
were your
email.
specific concerns about math field day?
You already asked that, and it was answered.
Huh?
You already asked that question and it was answered.
Is what was in the email?
Well, I think he said to move on.
No,
That's the
no,
ruling I have.
all she said, she received an email.
I'm referring to, and I'll try not to do the same with you, but there's a recording, so when you interrupt each other, it's hard to play it back later, is that I believe I understood that the board president told you to move on after that last question. That's what I understood the ruling to be.
Move on, Mr. Dawson.
Are there any concerns that her remaining on the job and doing her job and being paid for the job would jeopardize the safety, health, or welfare of the students?
Yes.
How is that?
In 18-A-8, we are looking at the effectiveness of the learning environment. Her remaining in the learning environment does jeopardize that for our students.
Does she actually teach children?
She is an instructional coach. That is her job description. And she is to teach teachers how to be more effective in the classroom.
Okay. But what is the nexus between grade change and her affecting the safety, health, welfare, or the learning of the children? Tell me that. What's the connection? You can look at him or you can answer the question. It's up to you.
Well, I think she could probably look at me anytime she wanted to during this hearing. But I would appreciate if you allow her to answer instead of directing her. I don't think that's your role either, to direct her to answer a question.
When we are looking at grade reporting and grade transcription and influence over the staff that is in the classroom and her being in the classroom with those staff members, it indicates the effectiveness of the learning environment and jeopardizes that effective learning environment for our students.
How?
She has influence over the staff members that are in the classroom. She is in the classroom with those staff members, directing them with the students.
The WEBIS access that she had, was it of a level that would allow her to change grades or change student records?
That's part of the impending investigation.
Well, you're
She had access. She had administrative access, and that's part of the impending investigation.
do you know whether her level would allow her to change grades or wouldn't allow her to change?
Administrative access allows you to change grades. Absolutely.
All right. That's what I was getting at. So the email with math field day, it had something to do with jeopardizing the health, welfare, and safety of the students also?
The email with math field day had conduct that was perceived as insubordinate regarding purchasing protocol.
In your letter of February 12th, you're not saying that you're investigating insubordination, are you?
I say in my letter that I am investigating the evaluation of transcripts, the accuracy of student grades for those students enrolled as 8th graders in Math 1. Additionally, the investigation will examine math field day organization and compliance with procedures.
I never heard the word insubordinate in there.
You
Right.
heard compliance with procedures.
Okay. So what procedure did you believe that she was being insubordinate on in regards to math field?
Purchasing procedures.
Huh?
Purchasing procedures.
Does she have in her contract or have the ability to control any money whatsoever?
That's under investigation. That's part of the question.
Well, as part of her contract, was she authorized to handle money in any way?
Objection. I think, again, we're here for, this is a discovery session from Mr. Doss. This is not the purpose of this hearing, is not to investigate the underlying facts of the case. The matter is under investigation. These are the reasons. She's testified about them. We object to the continued questioning along those lines.
Upheld, overruled. Mike, move on.
Um, the letter doesn't say anything that she's being investigated for any type of felony. Would you agree to that too?
I wouldn't agree to any language that you want to interpret on this letter.
Oh.
It is clearly stated what it is, and your interpretation is not something I'm going to comment on.
I don't see the word felony in this letter anywhere. Do you?
No.
Okay. Um, so you don't believe that paying well, let me ask you this. You do know that she's a fairly successful math coach. Would you agree?
I am not making any kind of belief or statement other than what is on this letter about the investigation. It is not my opinion that matters. It's an investigation that's meant to have fidelity, clear purpose, and be thorough.
Okay. But I'm wondering why you would put an award-winning math teacher, math coach, just won an award just a week ago while she's on this paid administrative non-disciplinary leave. Why do you have her sitting on the sidelines? I'm wanting to know what reason, what specific reason that affects these children. Because when I read the code, I see that even teachers who are accused of abuse or neglect or anything else can still be allowed to teach as long as they're not around the students under the code. Here, we're talking, I don't see, I'd like to know the reason, the exact reason that you felt it necessary to put her on administrative leave. And I think that's the reason why we're here, not to determine whether or not you acted arbitrarily and capriciously. What specific reason do you have to keep her out of the school system and from doing her job?
I'm going to object on 3 grounds for the record. One is asked and answered. Another is that this is outside the scope of the purpose of this hearing. And the third one is even though the final phrase was a question throughout that, he was literally arguing with the witness about what her actions were and why. And I guess he's testifying as to, Ms. Bert Kinderman's status as well, because that's not been established in the record either. So he's interjecting things that aren't even in the record.
Any other questions, Mr. Dawson?
I never heard you rule whether she's going to answer or not answer.
No, it's overruled. So go ahead and ask your next
Well,
question.
you overruled the objection, so please answer the question.
Sustained, yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
Mr. Dawson.
What?
Sustained. Mr. Dawson, move on. We've done
No, wait a minute.
ask and
Wait a
answer.
minute. No, wait. Did you just tell him that he needed to sustain that objection?
I was helping him clarify language.
Yes.
No, I'm not asking you a question, Mr. Grimes.
First of all,
Did you just, no, I want to make a record. I want to make a,
We'll have order.
that's fine, but I want to make a record. I want,
Well,
make sure that that recording picks up that she told him to say sustain.
Okay, first of all, you're not in charge of this meeting and you're telling them what to do. That needs to stop. I'm going to object to that, continue on throughout this hearing. Secondly, if you need a clarification from the board president about what his intention is of a ruling, then that's where you would direct that. You're now trying to circumvent that and cross-examine the superintendent on something that the board president ruled upon. If you need a clarification, ask for it. I'll ask for it. What was your ruling on the objection? Were you overruling him, me? What was your?
I was overruling Mr. Dawson, had him to move on to his next question.
Okay, I thought it was clear to me, but it was apparently not clear to him.
No, you made the objection, for the record, you made the objection. He overruled it. That means he told you were overruled, not me. I did not make the
Okay, we're
objection.
saying the objection. So go ahead, Mr. Dawson, ask your next question.
All right, my next question is, did you not just tell him to sustain the motion?
I clarified language for him.
Okay.
He was
Are you talking about the eighth grade grades? Are you specifically talking about a practice to where the eighth graders were allowed to take 2 classes and then drop a grade?
Objection. He's asking to answer the scope of this investigation. She's answered that multiple times at this point. Now we're continuing to
No,
try to conduct
that's a
discovery
specific
on the
question.
facts of the case that are under investigation.
Abstain.
Weren't there other administrators and teachers who are right now sitting and working in this system who were involved in the eighth grade math grades?
That's part of the investigation.
Well, but if those people were a part of it, why aren't they on administrative leave?
There's an ongoing investigation that is meant to have fidelity, clear purpose, and be thorough.
Okay, so my point is, why did you single out her to put her on just sit there and don't shake your head. On administrative leave and not anybody else who was involved in that process on administrative leave with her? Why is she the only one?
I'm going to object to the extent that the superintendent is not even permitted here in this meeting, which has by choice been open to the public to discuss any other employees with the school district. I mean, he's assuming for the purpose of his
Yeah,
question, what's even happened with other personnel,
we
which
can't
he
call-
shouldn't have any knowledge of. And certainly I would object to that being at any attempts made to bring out discussions about other employees here in this
We
meeting.
cannot discuss any other employee.
I'm not naming anybody in particular.
Abstain.
I have no further questions.
Pre-grade.
I do have, do have some questions. Please, did you, Stephen, were you asked your name and your position when the question started? I don't recall that. So would you please state your name and position for the record?
Dr. Leith Williams, Superintendent of Pocahontas County Schools.
And are you, as superintendent, responsible for personnel decisions, including employees on paid administrative leave?
Yes,
Okay. And you were made aware of concerns involving Joanna Burke-Kinderman?
yes,
Okay. And without going into any investigative details, those concerns you've testified several times today were outlined in your letter to her. Is that correct?
that's correct.
If I might hand out these exhibits, I gave before the hearing copies to Ms. Burke-Kinderman and her attorney. I'll hand these out as well to the board members. These 3 documents will be the administration's exhibits here today. I'm trying to see size. And this is just the extra copy that would be like for the official record.
Okay,
And I'm not gonna, you reviewed the letter and read it several times, but that is the letter there, the February 12th letter that you've been referencing throughout the hearing.
yes, sir.
Let's look at the next letter, the March 18th letter. Is that another letter you sent to Ms. Burke-Kinderman?
It is.
And generally speaking, what was that letter for?
That letter was to let her know that we needed to have a meeting before the Pocahontas County Board to consider approval of her paid administrative leave. And it was a special meeting that was scheduled for today, Tuesday, March the 24th.
Okay, and you notified her she was allowed to request a hearing if she so chose?
I did.
And she had to put that in writing to you by a certain date and time?
I did.
And there at the end, you reminded her that it's non-disciplinary at this time and it would continue further action of the board or completion of the investigation.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the last document, the third exhibit is the letter that she dropped off or delivered to you. Is that right?
That's correct.
Requesting that she have a hearing.
That's correct.
All right. We would, unless there's objection, we would move the admission of those 3 documents into evidence.
So moved.
Is there any objection?
Any objection?
Not making one.
Okay. So, all right. So based on the information that you received, which you have testified about, since you were called as one of Ms. Burke-Kinderman's witnesses, based on that information, you made a decision regarding her work status
I did.
and you placed her on paid administrative leave.
Yes, I
You
did
testified
place her
about.
on paid administrative leave pending investigation.
Okay. And is that investigation still ongoing?
Yes, it is.
And was the administrative leave intended to be temporary pending the completion of the investigation?
Yes,
And it's non-disciplinary in nature.
that's correct.
Uh, And you've testified, I believe, but I'll ask it again. Did you determine that placing an employee on administrative leave was appropriate to allow the investigation to proceed to maintain orderly operations?
I did.
Okay. And you got into testimony earlier, and I heard you recite 18A, I think 2.8, the state code section that gives you authority to place employees on leave pending investigation. In certain instances, it actually mandates it. The word shall is in that statute that
Correct.
we've spoken of. Are you aware of that?
I am.
Okay, and when matters are under investigation by your office that either jeopardize the health, safety, and welfare of students or impact the learning environment, you're required by law to place the employee on administrative leave.
That is correct.
And you have a choice on whether or not to put them on paid or unpaid leave, don't you?
That is correct.
And you chose to place her on paid administrative leave.
That is correct.
Based on the information available to you at the time, do you believe your decision was appropriate?
I do.
Okay, was your decision to place her on leave intended to be disciplinary?
No.
And was it made to just allow investigation to proceed appropriately?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Nelson.
Truthfully, you didn't even have to give her the right to have a hearing here today, correct?
There is a timeline in which we ratify the hearing with the board, and I believe that is 30 days.
It's been more than 30 days since February 12th. Would you agree?
No,
It hasn't?
no.
It's 30 working days. It's in the code. Yeah.
It's been more than 30 days since February 12th, correct?
It's not been more than 30 working days.
30 days?
30 working days.
I don't think the code calculates working days.
I'm going to object. We're not here to argue with the witness over what the law says.
All right.
You know, we can
But you
argue
did-
that
you-
later, but
By law, you did not have to give her a hearing here, correct? At all. If she's on paid administrative leave, that choice is up to you. You don't need the approval of this board at all.
I'm going to object to that.
Correct.
That is not an accurate statement of law.
Well, she can agree or disagree with it.
Well, you're asking her legal questions about procedure now.
Well, you did too, about 18
No, I
minutes.
asked her about the basis for what decision she made, and I'm cross-examining her on your questions that you already asked her.
You do not need the board's approval to place her on administrative leave with pay for non-disciplinary reasons. Is that
I am
correct?
seeking the board's approval of the administrative non-disciplinary leave with pay
All right,
within the 30 working days guidelines.
but at the same time, you're giving her a hearing to determine whether or not your actions were arbitrary and capricious. Is that correct?
That's incorrect.
That's what he read to us right at the beginning of this. I mean, what you handed him and made him read. I mean,
Okay.
who prepared that for him?
I'm gonna object. I mean, now we're arguing with the witness again. I'm just gonna object and to this continue, basically arguing with the witness. Did you rule? I didn't.
Sure thing.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't hear.
I really won't waste any more of anybody's time. I'm sorry that I have no further questions of the superintendent.
No further questions.
Administration got any witness?
Well, do you have any further witnesses? You indicated earlier.
I have no further witnesses.
Okay, so he has no further witnesses. We have called the superintendent. I asked her the questions I intended to, so the administration, with the admission of those exhibits and the testimony that's been rendered, we would rest.
Employees closing statements.
There's not one shred. Because nobody will say why. To determine whether or not what she did, the superintendent has done, was done for any rational reason whatsoever. It's a bold statement, it has to do with math grades, but when you ask about it, nobody will tell you what it is. What nexus it may have to the health, safety, welfare of the children, I don't see it. I understand from what limited dealings I've had in educational law that 99.9% of the time, when the superintendent wants this board to ratify her actions, they will. But I'm gonna ask you, look at it. Because if you see something more than what was presented here today, to say that someone who loves to do their job is not allowed to do their job for whatever reason in a small community, and to say that it's a non-disciplinary thing, that's not true. And you know it's not true. There's no reason to ratify what she's doing. Joanna would love to be back doing what she does and what she gets paid for and what she's been trained to do for years. There's nothing in this investigation. They've had over 30 days to do it. If they had it, you would have it. There would be a smoking gun. She's just been punished. And that's all I'm going to say. Closing statement.
Yes, I do have a closing statement. I want to, first of all, say that Ms. Burke Kinderman didn't testify here today. So any statement that Mr. Doss gave about what Ms. Kinderman may or may not say or how she might feel would be totally irrelevant and inadmissible here today. This issue before the board, as I said earlier in opening statement, is a very narrow issue. It's kind of interesting that Mr. Doss argues what the standard is for this hearing today. He's stated that repeatedly, whether or not the superintendent's actions were arbitrary and capricious. Well, as an attorney, he would know that in order to test that, you would have to have a hearing, which is why we're here today, which is what he has stated several times is why he's here. So it's disingenuous to then try to cross-examine the superintendent about whether there was a necessity of a hearing. I submit that that is just to distract from the issue of why we are here today. The board is not here to determine whether any alleged conduct even occurred. The only question is whether the superintendent acted reasonably based on the information available to her at the time and placing the employee on administrative leave pending an ongoing investigation. The investigation remains ongoing, as the superintendent has testified, and she must be allowed to proceed to completion. The employee today, through her representative, has not met the burden of showing that the superintendent's decision was arbitrary, capricious, or contrary to law. So we submit that she has demonstrated through her own testimony that based on the information she had, that what she has under investigation, in her opinion, is that it does impact the learning environment of students and could impact the health, safety, and welfare of students. That's what she's testified under oath here today. She's the only witness who's testified here today. So that's the only testimony that you have before you here today. She's testified about that. So we submit to you that based on the evidence that's before the board here today, that the superintendent's decision should be approved. And we ask that when you take that motion up at some point in time in this hearing, that you do so. Thank you.
Okay, the board will now retire to executive session to deliberate. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I made
Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second?
a second.
Mr. McNabb, second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. We will now go into executive session into open session. Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. McNabb, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Are you recording?
Motion carries. We come out at 4:52.
Yes.
Dr. Williams, do you have a recommendation regarding whether the board should approve the continued paid administrative leave of the employee pending completion of the investigation?
It is my recommendation that we continue on the paid administrative leave, non-disciplinary, to the conclusion of the investigation.
Is there a motion? Mr. McCombs made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Gibson seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Get 3-1.
Huh?
Oh, I thought you
Four
said
to
3-1. I was gonna say you better get your hearing aids.
We don't know.
Huh?
One filter.
I think that ends the hearing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it for the hearing.
That's it for the hearing. Okay, number 4 is approval of out-of-county trips. Do I have a motion?
They moved.
Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. McNabb seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Our next Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026 at the Pocahontas County Board of Education Conference Room at 6 p.m. We are hereby adjourned.
Do we,
Oh,
see, we can't drink it because we got the levy thing going.
We can adjourn this meeting.
we
Yes.
Are you done with the business?
voted on the trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we
You
adjourn
voted for
because we did?
Made a motion up there.
Yeah. Okay.
We had to leave the last.
This, with this adjournment.
You're hollering.
How'd I do, Tim?
You came out of executive session and you've adjourned the meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.